Okay, we're going to talk about doing a proper pressure check. We have a lot of different types of pop-off valves and what we call occlusion valves out there as well. We're going to do this one under the regular pop-off valve. You do have different style of pop-off valves. You have this style or this style, and there are several others, but they all, when you close them down, they completely occlude. We also have some occlusion valves. This is the matrix occlusion valve, which if you press this button, you can occlude the pressure to the rest of the machine, and as soon as you let go, it opens, as long as you have this open. This will, if you occlude over 25 to 35 centimeters of water, this is supposed to release. That's part of the safety portion of things. We also have my favorite safety pop-off valve, which is the Supera safety pop-off valve. The advantage of this is that whether this wheel is open or closed, it is still open to the patient unless I press the button. We will talk about this pop-off valve and using it for pressure checks in a different video. You also have this style of occlusion valve, which sits on the back of a pop-off valve. And the idea is you press this button and it occludes, and as soon as I let go, it releases. This is really good for giving an animal a breath. These do tend to leak a little bit through, so if you're doing a real full pressure check and you're just using this button, it may be leaking through there. So if you're having problems, you may need to take that into account. But we're going to do a pressure check just using the pop-off valve. So what you're going to do is, ideally you do a pressure check before every procedure, because ideally you're switching circuits and bags between patients based on their sizes. So we're going to put the circuit on and a bag on. And what we're going to do is we are going to close the pop-off valve, and then I'm going to occlude where I would hook the animal up at the endotracheal tube, and I'm going to press the flush button, and I'm going to fill the bag up very full and get this pressure between 30 and 40 centimeters of water. What I'm looking for is that needle to be holding pretty solid, steady, and not dropping. If it is, then my anesthesia machine is holding pressure. The one thing I want to do is, before I release the pressure, is I'm going to turn on the vaporizer. You may see a little bit of a drop, and then this should hold. That means my vaporizer is not leaking as well. Then before I release, I'm going to open up the pop-off valve and make sure that it releases well. I'm going to turn my vaporizer off, and I'm good to go. Now, what happens if we have a little bit of a problem? I'm going to loosen up this container a little bit just to make a leak. I'm going to re-pressurize, and you can see how this needle is dropping. You see that? What I want to do is turn my flow meter on until that needle stops dropping. And if you look over here at the flow meter, it's up around 2 liters. So that tells me that I have a 2-liter leak in the anesthesia machine. I need to find it. Maybe it's in my circuit, maybe it's in my bag. I can feel, not necessarily find a leak. One trick is if you have this type of a circuit with the circuit inside the circuit, what I like to do is have you disconnect this portion of the circuit out, set that aside. Now you just have the circuit going from the inhalation to the exhalation. I have my hands free. I can look for the leak. So I'm going to fill it back up. I still have this 2-liter leak. It's in my container. Now that leak's going up. I'm going to turn it back down. And as you can see, it's holding pressure. Okay, so one thing I want to stress, anytime you do a pressure check, you always want to leave the pop-off valve open. So when you're done and you've found any leaks and you've solved the problem, you want to open this up, make sure that that pressure releases down to 0 and the bag empties.